Okay, welcome to a vampire deck profile. This is the second time recording it and the angle's not great. Hang on, let me just adjust that. There we go. Right, today we're going to be going over a vampire deck that I built. It's slightly different than normal builds, but again, don't take my decks as something you should take to a tournament because it really isn't. It's just something funny and can work. So we will begin this profile with 3 vampire retainers. Of course you're running 3. That is pretty much the heart of the deck, because if that's in graveyard, you can special summon it by sending a vampire, and then when it's special summoned, you get to add a vampire spell or trap to hand, so it's most of your searching comes from that card. And the next card I'm going to show as well. But you want to run it at 3 because it's a nice and little combo, and in all, that is probably one of the main parts of the deck. Then you have Vampire Familiar at 3, because Familiar does the exact same, except it searches the monsters. Bear in mind, if you special summon these from graves due to their own effects, then they get banished when they leave the field. But if you use like Monster Reborn or special summon them from the deck, they can still use their search effect, but they don't have to be banished. It's great, they're very useful, and they're just great cards to have in the deck in general. They're great targets for everything in this deck, and they allow you to search quite a good portion of the deck. Just those 2 cards alone. Offered Familiar, you want to mostly focus to search your Shadow Vampires, which I'm running at 3. The reason being is Shadow Vampire, when it's normal summoned, which if you do the combo right, you will be able to normal summon a Shadow Vampire as well. You can then special summon another vampire card from your deck. That's basically not Shadow Vampire. It doesn't matter what vampire at that point. So you want to be searching another particular card, which I'm about to show you, which is Vampire Scarlet Scourge at 3. The reason I run that at 3 is because you want to search it off Shadow Vampire. It's probably the main deck beast, in the sense of you want to go into a lot of extra deck stuff, but for the main deck, that is probably your most OP card right now. So that allows you to take control of an opponent's monster when you destroy it, and then also you gain, if you have the right combo, you can like gain life points from it. And then there's also the sheer fact of it allows you to special summon a vampire from your graveyard when it's special summoned. It's like your go-to card if you can do it. Another one I'm running at 3 is Vampire Sorcerer. Reason being is it's one that you can just normal summon anyway because it's a level 4. And also, if it's in graveyard, you can banish it and you don't have to tribute summon for a vampire card that turn. And also, if it gets destroyed on the field, then it allows you to search another vampire spell or trap or monster from your deck to your hand. So it's a good another generic searcher that has basically the same effect as Familiar and Retainer, except it doesn't have the special summon effect, which makes Familiar and Retainer just like a little bit better. Then you want to run 3 Unizombies. Reason being, with Unizombie, you can search any zombie from your deck to the graveyard. So you would want to summon that, send, say, Retainer or Familiar to the grave, depending on which one you have in your hand. So say you have Retainer in hand and Unizombie in hand. You would summon Unizombie, send Familiar to grave. Use Familiar's effect special summon itself by sending Retainer. Retainer's effect Familiar when it special summons allows you to search a vampire monster. And then if you have any other vampires, you can send that to go into Retainer. Retainer's effect will allow you to search Vampire's Domain, activate Domain. Obviously, I'll be going through that card later anyway. And then that way you've got another additional normal summon, even though you normal summoned Uni. You have 2 vampires that you can use to go into a particular link that, again, I'll go through later. And it's just an all-round great combo. And it's literally like 2 or 3 cards you need to do it, so it's great. Another card I'm running at 2, I'm potentially going to run at 3 though, is Vampire Fraulein. This card special summons itself when your opponent declares an attack. Then, once per battle, you can pay life points up to 3,000, and the monster that's being attacked, if it's a vampire, gains that amount of attack and defense. So say you're attacking Fraulein, who has 2k defense with a 4k beat stick. I'll take 2,100. You take 100 damage, and Fraulein survives. It's great. Another one I'm running at 2 is Vampire Vamp. Just because if you can get it on the field, which isn't that difficult in this deck, let's be fair, and then normal summon afterwards, which again isn't that difficult, you can choose a monster on your opponent's side of the field that has higher attack than Vampire Vamp and equip it to Vampire Vamp. And then Vampire Vamp gains that attack points. So say they have Ancient Gear Giant on their side of the field, which has 4,500. By doing this combo, your Vampire Vamp now has 6,500 and they no longer have their Giant. And then let's also add to the fact of if it has something equipped to it, when it gets destroyed, it special summons itself back. So basically, it doesn't die that easily, and it also allows you to just kill off your opponent. It's great. I'm only running one Red Baron, mostly because it's a target for Desire, which again I'll go through later. And also its effect of paying 1,000 to then target a vampire you have and switch control of it with a monster your opponent has. So like I summon Red Baron, summon Retainer, use the effect of Red Baron, switch Retainer with like your big boss monster. I've now got your big boss monster. It's, it's alright. Now, this card I'm running at 1 kind of gives away what I'm doing with the extra deck. I'm running 1 Nightmare Corruptor Ibli. I do not need to explain why you want to be running this, because it's a Nightmare card. I will explain in further detail why you're running that later when I'm going through the extra deck. Then we go into the spells and traps. You're going to be running 3 Vampire Domination. It's a very good counter trap. It just negates your opponent's plays, and if it's a monster on the field, when it's destroyed, you gain life points equal to the attack points of the monster that was destroyed by countering its effect. It's an amazing card for this deck, and it's searchable off of Retainer and Sorcerer. So you always want to be running this at 3. There's no reason not to. I'm running Vampire Awakening at 2. Reason being is it's great and all, but there's so much better stuff you can run, and to be fair, this deck is already 45 cards, and I've already got a lot of stuff going on. I wanted to take out 1 Awakening, just because you can still use those 2 to do the effects, plus there's a lot of already searching going on anyway. You don't really need to run more than 2, to be fair. You want to be running 3 Vampires Domain. Main reason being is that's the main card of the deck. It basically makes vampires what they are. It allows you to do an additional normal summon by paying 500, and the additional normal summon has to be a vampire though. Plus, if you do damage with a vampire on the field, you can you can gain that life point. So say I have Vampire Vamp with 6/5, like I said earlier, and they have a 1/9 on field. I attack them, the difference that I've just dealt them comes to me as life points. And even if I attack them directly, again, those life points come to me. Which means all the 500s you're taking for the effects, all the 1,000s you're taking for the effects, don't mean nothing if you can get Domain on the field and start dealing damage with your vampires. It actually makes the deck very viable. One of the spells I'm running at 3 is Vampire's Desire. The reason I'm running that at 3 is it's a very good graveyard sending card. So like, say I summoned Familiar, but I don't have a Retainer in hand or even in graveyard. I'll summon Familiar, use Desire, send Retainer to grave, use Retainer's effect, send the Familiar on field to grave to go into Retainer, Retainer's effect, add Domain to hand, then use Domain, then so on and so forth from there, and start doing my plays from there. It makes sense. Plus also it has an additional effect that I never really use, which is if you have a vampire in your graveyard, you send a monster from your side of the field to the graveyard to then bring in your vampire from the grave. I don't use that effect as much, but it's still a very good effect if you want to use it, hence why it's at 3. Allure of Darkness at 3, for obvious reasons. It's basically banish a dark monster and every monster in my deck is dark, and you get to draw 2 cards. You can do blind allures in the sense of, if you have no dark monsters in hand, you can still activate Allure, but if you don't draw into any dark monsters, you have to discard the entire hand. Or if you draw into 1 dark monster, you have to banish that dark monster no matter what it is. So it's a bit of a gamble if you play it that way, but it's not too bad. I also run 3 Book of Life. Reason being is all but Ibli is a zombie monster. So Book of Life just makes it so much better because you can banish a monster from your opponent's graveyard that they're using for their graveyard effects, and then special summon any of your zombies from graveyard, whether it be Unizombie, Vampire Scarlet Scourge, or Shadow Vampire, or Vampire Vamp, or Fraulein. No matter what it is, you can search it, and it's great for that. Then we're going into cards that I'm only running 1 of. We have a Foolish Burial. for obvious reasons. Send those vampire to the grave, use their graveyard effects. I shouldn't have to explain that anymore. Zombie World. The reason I'm running Zombie World is because of one of my Link monsters requires every monster to be zombie. Well, it doesn't require it, but it makes it a lot easier. Plus, also, if I can turn everything to zombies, then it means my opponent can't do as many plays if it requires on type. So it's good to run at 1. Monster Reborn, just so you can special summon your monsters from graveyard and your opponent's monsters. And with one of my Xyz monsters I'm going to be going over soon, you would like to take your opponent's monsters. And Soul Charge. Again, it's just another graveyard res effect. It's actually very good for that, and, you know, there's nothing really else that you can complain about it. Right, now we're going into the extra deck. I'm running 3 Dampier Vampire Sheridan. Best card of the deck. I ain't gonna lie. Best card of the fucking deck. The reason being is, with Scarlet Scourge being a level 6, its effect of it being a rank 6 is great, but then the sheer fact of it says if you use an opponent's monster that has a level, you can treat it as level 6. Hence why I said Monster Reborn, hence why I said Scarlet Scourge is great, because no matter what level you bring back in, if it's a level 1, you can exceed straight into Dampier if you've got your own level 6, because that monster gets treated as a level 6. This deck wants you to go into that card so much, and it's good to go into, so I'm not going to complain. I'm running 1 Constellar, Plebemy M7. I am going to take that out when I get another Nightmare Phoenix, but for now, it's just a rank 6 generic, and it kind of works, so, you know, why take it out if it ain't broken. I'm running 1 Crimson Knight Vampire Bram. It's only really good for taking your opponent's graveyard monsters, and, you know, that's the only monster that can attack that turn. So it's still quite good. In fact, I might even take out Constellar to run a second one. But it's not the ideal situation, because it's not got the same effect of Dampier of you can use any monster your opponent uses as long as it has a level, unlike Dampier. This one requires you to use level 5s for definite, and the only level 5s in your deck is Fraulein, Shadow Vampire, and that's the only level 5s I run in this. So it's not ideal to go into. But if you can work your way around it, then do. I run 1 Baguska. I know the only level 4 I run is Sorcerer, but I can also steal my opponent's level 4s. Plus, I also have Unizombie that increases its own level, which means it could become a level 4. So, you know, not too bad. And talking of Unizombie, I'm running 1 Beals, because Unizombie is a tuner, and it can go into Beals, and if you can run Beals, you run Beals. It's as simple as that. Then I'm running, in my links, I'm running Nightmare Mermaid. Hence why I'm running Nightmare Ibli. Effect of Mermaid. If you discard a card, you can special summon a Nightmare from your main deck onto the field. Nightmare, Corruptor, Ibli. And then if you link Ibli and say another link that you brought out, or any other monster you've brought out, you can go into another Nightmare, and then Ibli goes to your opponent's side of the field, and Ibli's effect is basically you can only link summon while this card's on the field, and that's the only special summon you can do. So say you want to use Monster Reborn, you can't do that while Ibli's on the field. You have to link. The only good way I can think of getting past Ibli is running your own Mermaid, because Mermaid's only requires 1 Nightmare monster. So if you have Ibli on the field, you can go straight into Mermaid. It's sort of its own thing in that sense. You want to run 1 Phoenix, or 2 if you're taking out the Constellar, because this is basically going for the extra link now. And with this one, when it's co-linked, your monsters can't be destroyed by battle if they're co-linked, and also you can discard a card to destroy a spell when it first hits the field. It's very good for that. It's very good for like extra linking your opponent, and for also just co-linking in general. I would recommend running that. Then run 1 Goblin. Effect of Goblin is, again, if it's co-linked, your monsters cannot be targeted if they're co-linked. And also, its other effect is if you discard a card, you can normal summon another monster, and it has to be where the link markers are, if you have a spare link marker there. Also, I should say, with each of these Nightmare cards, except Mermaid, if it's co-linked, you can draw an extra card. So it's great because it's like, oh, I activate Phoenix's effect, and also because it's co-linked, I draw a card from my deck. which means you can start doing some proper big co-link plays. I'm running 2 Cerberus. Reason being is you want to run 2 Cerberus and 2 Phoenix for the sheer fact of you don't know which side you're going to try to extra link from, and you have to go into Mermaid first. So you'd have to go into Cerberus first and then get rid of Cerberus to go into Mermaid if you're going on this side. So then you can go straight into Cerberus again and then go that way. And gives you a second Phoenix to play with to get like your links on this side. But, you know, this co-link effect is can't destroyed by card effects. So cards that are co-link can't destroyed by card effects. Plus, if you discard a card, you send a monster from the field back to the owner's hand. So it's very good for getting rid of stupid cards. And if you run it with like a Kaiju deck, you can push your Kaiju back to your hand and then reuse it. It's very good. I run it at 2. I'll also run Phoenix at 2 when I get another Phoenix. We're done with the nightmares. Underclock Taker. It just finishes off the extra link. Because it doesn't have an arrow pointing up at all, so your opponent can't use any of those arrows. It's very easy to go into. And it co-links down at the bottom, so you can actually extra link your opponent with it. Again, you don't always go for the extra link. You do quite often still go for the damn pierce stuff and all that. But if you can go for the extra link, you might as well. Especially if you can give them a Midley in that turn as well. Because then your opponent literally can't do anything. Because both link zones are taken and there's a Midley that they can't link with. You might as well. I'm running 1 Vampire Sucker. Mostly because it's a really expensive card. To be fair, Nightmare Corruptor Ridley was an expensive card. But nah, you kind of need to run at least 1. Vampire Sucker, very good. It requires 2 zombies to link into it. Which is very good because all your monsters are zombies plus Zombie World. Plus the sheer fact of... that's why you want to run Zombie World. For the sheer fact of Vampire Sucker's effect. Where if you tribute summon a zombie monster, you can tribute your opponent's zombies for it. So if I was trying to bring out, say, Fraulein, which is a level 5... with Zombie World on the field and Vampire Sucker on the field, I can just tribute your monster. Doesn't matter. Then there's also the sheer fact of every time a zombie is special summoned from the graveyard, I can draw a card, but that's only once per turn to be fair. But it's still once a turn if a zombie is special summoned, I draw. And the sheer fact of it has an effect where you can special summon the monsters from your opponent's graveyard back to their field in defense position, but they get treated as a zombie, which triggers its drawing effect. So if you have no way of special summoning your own zombies, just special summon one of your opponent's monsters, draw for it, and because it's in defense mode, you can probably attack over it. It's very good that way. Unless you're going against super heavies, but to be fair, if you're going against super heavies, they're quite difficult for this deck, to be fair. Except maybe for Dampier. And then the last one, Trigate Wizard. It's just a very good generic card to have for your co-links. And since it has 3 arrows, for each arrow that you're co-linked to, it has an additional effect. For the first co-link, I'll have to read it, sorry. Yeah, for the first co-link, if I battle your monster, I do double damage. For the second co-link, I can target a card on your side of the field and banish it once per turn. And if I have all 3 have a co-link on them, which I try to get out, I can negate 1 effect per turn. It's a very powerful card if you can get the extra link going for it. So, this deck is great. It's not the greatest, don't get me wrong. As I said, it's mostly for fun. There's a lot more I could do to it to make it better. Like, for example, I could take out the whole co-link engine because, to be fair, that isn't that reliable. But, for what it is, I enjoy it. I hope you guys enjoy it if you do build it. Or even if you build it on, like, say, Dev Pro or whatever. It's a very fun build. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. The very next deck I will be building, well, I've already built, but I will be showing you, I don't know. I still have quite a few decks I want to show you, but I need to work out what order I'm going to do them in. And then I'm also going to start a new series where I teach Yu-Gi-Oh! It's going to be a multi-part series, and, well, hopefully I can get a few other people interested if they watch my videos. Unlikely, because to be fair, if you're watching these videos, you should probably already know quite a bit about Yu-Gi-Oh! But who knows? People might enjoy it. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you guys later.